And hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Vishal and Company. Today, we're going to be talking about the Delta variant and inflation fears. We'll be analyzing what was said at the B Word conference. And finally, Joseph is going to be talking a bit about central bank digital currencies and the digital yuan. We have a ton to go over today, so I'll just jump right into it and pass it over to Vishal.
All right, thank you, Maddie. So originally I was gonna call this chat, do you buy the dip or do you sell the rip? Well, it looks like we have a trifecta of all-time record highs here on all the major markets here. You can see here the S&P 500. A lot of scare last week on Friday when we were chatting. Monday we had a red day as well, but the rest of the week people bought the dip, and we are now at record highs on the S&P 500, record highs here on the Nasdaq. Looks like we'll probably get record highs here on the Dow Jones, but the small caps, that's the one that is still sort of lagging, and we've seen a lot of the meme stocks, especially get hit on that AMC, GME, and all that kind of stuff. The big moves today: Google, all-time record highs. Look at that daily candle.
Jeez
Facebook,
Louise.
yeah, $2,000. Facebook took out $360 and is now at $372. So those are the two big tech movers leading the Nasdaq higher, and well, I guess partly the S&P 500 as well. When we were selling off last week on Friday and into Monday, there were two sort of fear talks, right? So we've always been talking about the I word, inflation, and whether that's going to keep increasing. The Fed is telling us it's transitory, but that's sort of gone out of the lexicon now, or the Fed's diction. It's basically now we're being told inflation is going to be persistent for a few months, very uncertain when it's going to start to taper, but inflation doesn't seem transitory anymore. And inflation talks are still there. Fear of inflation spreading throughout the U.S. Industry inflation. We've talked about restaurants and supply chains as well here, but that sort of died down lately. We're hearing now a lot more regarding COVID cases rising in all 50 states across the U.S. as Delta variant tightens its grip. Of course, the UK just opened fully last week, although they did it when their COVID cases were at record highs. And we're going to sort of watch to see what happens there, because there was fear that there might be a new set of lockdowns, and that was really what was driving some fear into the markets. But as I said, we've bought the dip anymore. We bought the dip now. So going forward, it's funny. I think I posed this question last week as well. But say there are new lockdowns imposed or restrictions continue for a bit longer, is that necessarily bad news? Do we actually see stock markets sell off like they did last time we had that lockdown back in February of 2020 into March of 2020? Or is that actually seen as positive news because now the Federal Reserve and other central banks will not raise interest rates? They'll keep cheap money going on forever, which means you'll have to go into the stock market to make yield. So that's the state of the markets right now. It really is, yeah, euphoria, right? It looked like we're going to get a blow off top here. Today's price action was very, very strong. But yeah, folks, I mean, these markets will just keep going higher until we get some sort of black swan. But right now, buy the dip until you get clapped, but then you buy the dip again. That's the that's the strategy here going forward. And I think going forward, the Fed will
To a
keep the cheap
certain
money.
extent, buy the dip smartly because you could get
Exactly.
clapped right out of your capital.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, buy the dip when you get to big support levels, and and wait till you see signs of buyers actually stepping in. Don't buy the dip when you have a huge red candle, because that's like throwing a knife up in the air and trying to catch a falling knife. You want to basically buy the dip when you're seeing signs of a base being built, or buyers stepping in. But that's the state of the markets, and I think we're going to be talking about this for quite a few more weeks. We'll probably be seeing record highs after record highs, and one day, there will probably be some sort of reversal, and maybe it's due to a black swan or something. But yeah, it will be painful, I think.
It'll be very painful because the market is absolutely fucking bloated.
Yeah. TK, you have any comments on this euphoric markets here? And if any of these headlines really even matter? Does fear even matter? Are people scared of inflation and COVID cases?
At this point, I don't think so.
No.
I think most people are discounting it completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was reading this thing a while back, and it was talking about how we focus on the cyclical bears and the bulls, but then the secular longer term bear and bull trends generally wipe out a lot of people's wealth. So I feel right now we're in a cyclical bull,
Right.
but long term things are not looking as great. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but the higher we go, the less return you have in the future.
Absolutely. I know that there's this phenomenon of buying the sexy stock because you're going to see a price change in the next 20 minutes. I don't think it works at all. I think it's better to even forego the temporary gains that you might get in the next 2 weeks because that really is just gambling. For instance, my portfolio, there's not a sexy stock in there. And with the exception of getting hammered by Nvidia, I'm up 400 grand. It's just,
nice.
It's playing it safe and playing it straight. That's what this is about. Find something that has a value, that has performance, and has a future. Don't buy a dream. Oh my God, don't buy the dream. Speaking of which, I'll go into that later. All right.
Well, can I just show you guys this chart? You guys know Chipotle Mexican Grill? The stock is trading at $1,817.21.
Why?
Very popular apparently, but I remember
Product has
back in
not
the day.
changed, right? Like nothing's new.
Sorry, say that again, Maddie.
Like the product hasn't changed. Like it's still just burritos.
Chipotle, yep.
I mean, I think they have like cauliflower rice and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it's popular in the States because it is quite cheap and I get a lot of protein. I know a lot of the.
It's big for university students.
Yeah, and some of the gym
There are
guys.
big backing of investors as well. The very attractive Bill Ackman is a big time investor in it as well. So
yeah, he's the guy who turned this around. So that was sort of crazy because I remember we were all saying, "Oh my God, a $400 stock for Chipotle," when McDonald's is like, what was McDonald's? McDonald's trade. Okay, it's $200 now. McDonald's actually breaking out now as well to new highs, 244. But I mean, $1,800 is pretty crazy.
True. You know what I think happens is kind of when we go through these tech booms, no matter what it is, like today it's AI and cloud and stuff like that. You kind of get excited at the story of, progression, which is, all great. Eventually the technology will help. EV will definitely help. But when you're now overpaying for that future earning power, there's a problem. So on aggregate, I think today people are overpaying for the future prospects of certain technology.
Tesla. Sorry.
I didn't want to say it, but 1,000 plus earnings is definitely crazy. But I think it happens, and it's best to buy them knowing that there might be a drop of 40, 50%.
Yeah.
And the people who can survive that 50% drop and still want to accumulate more of it, I think will do better than the people who bought at the top and then sell their losses as soon as it hits them. I personally think so.
No, it's true. The only winners in that will be the people that bought it at a very, very low price. The ones that, as you said, bought in the high thing, they're just going to lose their shirts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the worst part about this, for lack of a better phrase, game.
Yep.
It's if you can't find the fool at the table. you
pointing it at yourself, yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about Kathy Woods, but I'll wait.
Ooh, okay, good. We'll get into a great discussion.
Well, you don't have to wait for too long because I think we should maybe transition to that big conference that occurred. Was it 2 days ago? Yeah, 2 days ago.
Actually,
Awesome. Okay.
no, sorry to be stepping in, Maddie. I apologize. Should we actually tackle China's yuan first? Let's do that, because
Okay.
I know I've got a lot to yell about B word, because there's lots of words for what that B stands for. Keep going.
Joseph, take it away.
All right. Well, yeah, China finally came out with their central bank digital currency, and I had the opportunity to read the white paper over the past few days, and I got to tell you, I have never seen a more disappointing white paper ever. It was all politics. It was what does this coin do? What's it set up to do? And absolutely none of the technicals. So I don't know if it's a single hash algorithm coin. I don't know whether it's Ethereum based. I don't know what a consensus mechanism is. It doesn't tell us literally anything. What the white paper is kind of a soft pedaling of the political stance of the Central Bank of China, which is kind of really sad, if you ask me. Like they don't answer any kind of questions whatsoever. They don't even honestly mention blockchain or the underpinning technology or what it's going to be used for at all. I mean, we all know it's there. We all know that is the primary function, or we all know what the primary function of it is. And there's a few points which I actually found to be kind of interesting, is that the wallet ecosystem they set up for it proposes the idea of giving the currency, allowing foreigners who come into the country to exchange their currency, whatever they're coming in, and get access to a digital get access to the digital yuan. And my principal question is, why would anyone do that? Who came up with that idea, and who thought it would be a good idea to give the
I guess the yuan is so devalued right now that they're going, give us any currency. Just go ahead. Give it to us. We'll take it. It's fine. Of course, you can't use the yuan anywhere else in the world. But yeah, give it to us.
So far. Now, my problem isn't so much that its value, is the fact that any wallet transaction you make on the blockchain would automatically be seen by the Chinese government, which means that they can actually surveil you. They can actually surveil everything you do in the country. Yep. Not like they aren't trying to do that already, but it's a guaranteed thing. Everything you spend, everything you buy when there. Now, if and when this does proliferate beyond their borders, we're going to run into a lot of the same problem. It's basically handing China access to your financial records for everything you do using this currency. I mean,
that's what we can expect from any cryptocurrency that becomes a fiat currency, correct?
Yeah,
in the sense of like a national
CBDC.
Yeah.
I think as well, the biggest factor with China, which I feel a lot of people don't look at, is it's a completely different system. Yeah. If you look at most of their enterprises, they do have that, surveillance kind of thing going on, and the citizens themselves don't mind that. That's kind of the culture they were brought up in. It's integrating that to other places that's kind of been difficult. But I know countries like Russia have adopted their technologies as well, because they have the same kind of ecosystem where people are not
everybody adopted into the CCP's version of political Stockholm syndrome. I mean, a lot of the folks who leave the country and come here are like, I'm just getting away from my country.
Yep.
I'm just getting away from the people.
Yep.
Like
we said, a lot of Chinese people actually hate the CCP. A lot of them do. When China tried to open their currency account back in 2012, because they wanted foreign money to come into China, right? So, the whole free market, open market thing, like anyone can put money and take money out of America. And for China to be like a superpower or the reserve currency, it has to allow cross-border flows very easily. But what happened instead was Chinese people started taking their money out of China rather than investors coming into China. And obviously, a lot of that money comes to places like Vancouver and Australia and stuff. And the Chinese put those walls back up again, right? Because no one wants their money behind the CCP. And it's truly the reason why the Chinese yuan's not really seen as like a place you want to put your money in, because the government, right? The CCP they have full control of everything. They can devalue whenever they want, all that kind of stuff, right? So it's not necessarily a free traded currency, because the Chinese can just come and do whatever they want and set the peg.
So you have faith in this actually becoming a thing, Joseph, or is it an experiment that's just going to go dead?
I have faith that if this takes off, the rest of the countries will have to follow suit. Basically, I don't see how the thing is, this is going to take off because China's going to push it through.
Yep.
They're going to push it on people, and it's going to grow, and it's going to grow in value because the government is pushing it through. That will make other governments have to follow suit. And that is the reason why I think decentralized cryptocurrency will always be a thing. It will always be a thing as a response to this variety of government overreach.
It's a way to hide your money from government now.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, in a certain sense, what this will create, not necessarily an ecosystem of decentralized currency, but we'll have a very definite white versus gray versus black market, right? So you'll have the recognized digital currency, and then you're going to have the under-the-table currencies. My problem with cryptocurrency is because there's no physical representation of it, meaning there's no freedom in its use. It will always be tracked. We can always say that protects us, but for my mind, it's always felt like a big brother situation. If I can't have a couple of dollars in my pocket, to spend without somebody knowing where I've gone, how much I've spent, that's not freedom. I'm tracked everywhere I go.
It depends on the coin.
Yeah.
See, it depends on the coin. Yeah. There's a continual arms race going on between developers and law enforcement. Like in the beginning, it was Bitcoin, and the law enforcement had zero understanding, no idea how to track it. Now they can track it. So what they've done is they created privacy coins like Dash and Monero.
Dash, that was the one. Verge, I believe, and Monero, those were two big ones.
I've never heard of Verge, but whatever, I'll look it up. But
Monero, right? That was the one as well.
Yeah, Monero.
Yep.
Monero uses the strange elliptical curve kind of anti-surveillance technology, which I don't pretend to understand at all.
Now, in that sense, then, if it becomes a privacy coin, then what advantages does it have? Because what was told to us is that everything is. There we go. Cryptocurrency will track you, and you will have no freedom. That's from one of our viewers. That's very true. I mean, for the most part, I don't know if they would allow Monero to be used because of the privacy aspect. And then as a double-edged sword, the privacy aspect defeats what the purpose was for the original cryptocurrency.
That's what it was.
Where you could actually have everything tracked and nobody's going to mess you around because it's all down in the blockchain and publicly accessible. So
once again, privacy coins are always going to suffer from a lack of liquidity, but if you know specifically who's accepting them and what they're accepting them for, you can still find and do reasonable business with Monero. I mean, I don't know. Last time I looked at it was like $60, but coins don't get above. Coins generally don't get above $1 unless they have some means of exchange. Now, Monero has a bad reputation, and I don't really have truck with it because of this bad reputation, but I'd totally buy Dash. I'd buy Zcash. I know what Dash is used for. I mean, it's regardless of what you may feel about WikiLeaks, it's what's used to fund things like WikiLeaks. I personally have no problem with that. I would totally be more than happy to fund some organization which uncovers bad things. Especially
that's true. If the generalized attitude, a lot of different science fiction writers envision a world that where privacy doesn't exist. Everybody can look at everything.
I've read.
But there would be groups that would even the score by making sure that the bad people were being kept with their heels to the fire. because they could access the information themselves as well and let it out to everybody. It's an interesting world. It's an interesting concept. Honestly, the digitization is such, like what happens in an EMP? You know what I mean? It's just if we destroy the one form that it can exist in, then where does it go?
Yeah.
Right?
Cyber attacks, all that kind of stuff.
That's a very solid question.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's my one apprehension.
EMPs don't come around very often. You know,
No.
I've never had one.
No, neither have I. Thank God.
But I mean, in terms of global warfare, I mean, I don't know. Humanity's resilient. We'll come up with a different means. I mean, even if all the fiat were to burn up today, and we had the global EMP, which knocked out our computer network, we still have methods of making things work.
What do you think, Maddie? Is there a hopeful future ahead in a world that's gained 1.7 degrees Celsius on average?
I don't think so. I don't know. It's just so not my world. And like I always go back to what Vishal says just about in general, investing and how you should invest in something you either use or you really like care about. So you're involved and constantly researching. And none of this is it for me.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Look at the positive stuff. Be positive.
Exactly.
So okay, go ahead,
yes.
Maddie. Go ahead.
No, you go for it.
No, I'm waiting for you. You do it.
Okay. I think it's time for Galen to start yelling. We've got about like 8 minutes.
Thank you for that accurate description of what's going to happen over the next little bit.
I kind of want to hear what TK's got to say about Kathy Wood before we get started, though.
Oh, sure. Just one last comment from one of our viewers. Crypto is 100% vulnerable to the electrical grid. Oil and cash has brought us the greatest civilization. They want to destroy our freedoms. They all made their money from oil. I don't know about the conspiratorial aspect of it, but it is 100% vulnerable to the electrical grid. Very much so.
I think we have an oil prospector as a fan. He's obviously in the oil industry.
Just a quick remark on that too. I think like the future of warfare. I'm one that thinks we're not really going to be seeing missiles and bombs and stuff. It's going to be cyber. It'll be attack, right? Cyber attacks, and you can take down people's grid, and what better way than to take down a country's power, electric grid, and maybe even their money supply.
And our grids are completely outdated, by the way, just so everybody knows. We are
also like
incredibly
to point out that
vulnerable.
that's not the future of warfare. That is the present of warfare.
Yeah, because it's happening right now. Give us $50 million, you can run your fucking pipeline. All right, so let's talk about the B word. I'm going to bring TK in on this because he's got some special insight with Kathy Wood. The B word conference, which I like to call the bullshit conference. Basically, it was a crypto circle jerk amongst three of the biggest holders of cryptocurrency in an attempt to cover their losses. Look, we just lost viewers. Geez, how did that happen? Okay, so basically, we had Elon Musk and Jack Dorsey and Kathy Wood sit down at a round table, as it were, to discuss or to debate what was originally told to us on Bitcoin. But basically it was just like Musk going, it's going to be wonderful. And then the other two going, yeah, you're right. You're so right. You know what? You're right. Now, it's funny enough that over 2 years ago, Musk had no fucking clue about what cryptocurrency was or had any idea what it was going to do. And all of a sudden, he's his biggest advocate, claiming to be some sort of expert, talking technolese like he actually understood what he was saying. It's not. It's a guy that was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, son to a father that owned an emerald mine in South Africa, whose first business got taken off the ground from major investment from his father. That'd be Zip2. And also that whole story about him owning the house with 10 rooms, running a house with 10 rooms and turning it into a nightclub. Beyond the fact that I know that son of a bitch never went for any licensing whatsoever and actually operated an illegal speakeasy to fund his education. The house was bought by his mom. So this guy has not done anything really on his own. And in fact, his entire history of intelligence and of go-gettedness is all artifice. It's bullshit. So let's, for instance, take a look at his little ads to whatever he's joined. Zip2, I guess, was his. PayPal was not his, even though everybody seems to think that he walked in and created it. He actually added a segment to the pile that was immediately deprecated.
X.com, that was him.
Yeah, it was gone. They just bought it up because they did, and he entered the leadership realm, and they booted his ass out of that. So eventually, he left the company and went on to invest in other things, which is a purely Edison type thing to do, and basically really is just a patent troll and an investor. Although claiming to be much other than that. Tesla, for instance, he immediately ousted the original runners of the company. They left under sort of a mysterious, poor Elon. Yeah, I'm weeping buckets for the guy.
Did you say that?
Yes, they did. Nobody did. I thought that was really funny. He with Tesla, his only addition to that whole design thing is the car handles, the door handles, which are an overcomplication of something that should be incredibly simple, that freezes in temperatures that would be normal in Canada. And their only solution for users was to get out a hairdryer and heat up their car in the morning. Like, what the hell is that all about? Also, his only addition to the SpaceLink thing, sorry, it's not SpaceLink, SpaceX, he has a habit of collecting companies. SpaceX is the flange catching, which was a complete fucking disaster. The ships were obliterated as soon as they went out to sea. And the only reason it got past the testing stage is because it was Elon. So he has this idea that he is infallible, that his knowledge is spread all over the place, and he's somebody not to be messed with. And quite honestly, that's hubris to the worst degree. His jockeying of the purchase of let me see here, Solar City. Yeah, absolutely. He's got them all into it, right? And it's not as any kind of securing of the future. It was an idea to get quick bucks. And now he's realized that his pants are down around his knees because cryptocurrency is finally hitting the reality trough. Where are we actually going to go with this stuff? If it does actually become currency, it won't necessarily be something to invest in beyond how you would invest in fiat currency. It's no longer an asset. And if it is an asset, you won't be using it as currency because somebody would be a complete fool to take something that's either going to drop in price or increase in price in the next 20 minutes. So the B word itself was basically three people who had gone in over their necks to invest in something that they were literally using the public to inflate. Musk even admitted to being a pumper. Yep. He said he wasn't a dumper because he hasn't had that necessity yet, but he's a pumper very definitely. Right? And that means that whatever he's saying, he's just lining his own pockets. He doesn't give a rat shit what you think or where it's going. He wants to get you to pay now, like his full self-driving aspect, which should really be called driver assist. And the fact that he's also using at $199 a month, turning America into a bunch of test drivers for a technology which is fucking dangerous. They may have signed on to it, but everybody else on the street hasn't. He's completely gone outside of the rules with an incredible flair that should actually get him knocked out of his position as a company executive. But that ain't happening. This whole thing with the Bitcoin, the reason why it came up a bit after the conference is because Cathie Wood loaded a bunch of money into it. That's it. It's just sitting there by her own inflation. TK, take it away because I'm just going to lose my mind. I'll talk about it a bit more after, but let us know what you think of Cathie Wood.
I think she is the global leader in marketing right now. She is not an asset allocator or a portfolio manager. She is a marketer. She's changed from managing people's money to trying to market her ETFs. So this is just great timing. The market is not great timing, but for her to advertise the Bitcoin ETF that she wants to get through from the SEC and have a whole conference with and other fanboys as well of the same asset. It's like so strategic. It's amazing. I watched a few minutes of it, and then I was like, I can't be brainwashed like that. Just I won't sit through a lot of what she does. What I'm fearful for is now that she's in most of the destructive technologies, is this something scalable that she can continue to do from here? If Elon's company shifts, for example, like the Chinese company BYD, that started just in auto parts, but now does EV. That company shifted and is now actually taking most of the market. If Elon does the same thing and shifts to a complete auto manufacturer, does she, shift her assets completely from Tesla? What does that say about her conviction about a lot? Like I think it's 12% of her portfolio, Tesla.
Something like that.
How does her investment technique actually change and shift when things actually do change and shift? Because as Elon has said, capitalism is creative destruction. Most of the companies she's invested in are in industries that might not, and companies that might not exist in the next 10, 15 years, because most of them won't do well. It's only a few of the winners that will come through. So that's kind of where I'm like, if I'm an ARK investor, I would not watch what she says, but what she does. And she's the queen of buying the dip. Like there's there's no doubt she went to the Warren Buffett school of buying the dip because she's amazing at it. But she's transitioned from managing assets to marketing them. That's where I'm like, her duties are now not actually looking
She's
at what is in her
conflicted.
portfolio.
She's completely
Yeah,
conflicted.
it's a conflict of interest between. And then make it worse, there's been a history on Wall Street of portfolio managers on the buy side interacting with the operators, so like people like Elon, where they don't exchange any info, but natural human bias kicks in. So even if she knows that the company is not doing well, she has a close relationship with the man himself. And as well, he's one of the hottest topics right now in the planet. So it's easy to allow that train to go as long as possible. But eventually, reversion to the mean, Elon is going to kind of taper out. Bill Gates was the talk of the town not too long ago, before people were throwing piss on his head and stuff like that. And now Elon is kind of slowly getting into that. Yeah, we love him, but he does just do some stupid things. What happens when that happens? Is she gonna drop him and just go to the next thing? And that's why I'm like, people should kind of watch what she does. What she says right now doesn't really matter. She just has advertising most of her ETFs. But yeah, that's really, I want people to differentiate between the asset management and the asset marketing, because it's two different industries that she's touching on. And she's definitely the leader in the marketing side. I don't think there's anyone doing it better than her.
Vishal, what are your thoughts on the conference?
I tend to agree, I guess, with Galen. It was more of a way to try to pump the price. Funnily enough, me just being a technical guy, I wrote about this earlier this week, but Bitcoin actually did confirm a close below $30,000 for the first time in 2021. But then the day after, when the Bitcoin conference or the B conference happened, we had a big green candle, which took us back above 30K. So generally, you tend to see these retests before continuing lower. But in this case, this is a way to manipulate prices to make sure that break does not occur. And I guess they did get the price pumped up. I think the idea of, okay, now Musk is also in Ethereum. So he mentioned his in Bitcoin and Doge, but now he also confirmed that he has a stake in Ethereum. I think that's pretty significant, because now we know the three currencies or the three cryptos that he is holding. SpaceX now holds cryptos as well, Bitcoin especially. He did mention that it's very likely Bitcoin will restart and start taking Bitcoin as payment once the whole environmental aspects dealt with. And there's a lot of talk about that, right? About the ethical mining and friendly mining.
He's such a liar. Okay, yeah, no, it's It's a bad thing. The guy's like bad all the way through. I'm sorry. That people should be backing away from Tesla in droves. It's never going to make the money that you see on the table right now. There's so many other people entering the marketplace. It doesn't have the value proposition that he pretends. SpaceX does not have the value proposition that he pretends. The fact that he and Bezos and Virgin Galactic guy are jumping into space is just an affront, I think, to America and anybody else is watching. I mean, Bezos was placed at the best by saying, "You guys paid for all this." Yeah, we did. Thanks a lot, assholes. I just want to finish with one thing. Grimes went on TikTok to say that Elon Musk isn't her sugar daddy, which, is good. Although I think if you're going to have a helicopter parent in a situation, you probably should bill for your services, having all that maternal support. But, if she gets any money out of the Canadian government to make that crazy fucking album she's decided to have, and the fact that she and another guy figure they bought a planet, I just, you know what? I'm going to lose my mind. You've got jobs, you've done things, you should just go out and start doing it on your own. I know many musicians that have no money from the government and make art. So you know what? Get off the teat. All right.
Alrighty. On that note, that is all the time we have today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully Galen survives the week and is back next Friday, same time. Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.